All right, Island Hoppers, welcome back. Today we are coming to you from Ciudad, Mexico City. I'm right out front of the Zocalo. Right here's the cathedral. We are going to talk about things to know about visiting Mexico City, so let's go. The big thing that people want to know is about the safety here in Mexico City. So the three things that stand out more than anything: the water, the earthquakes, the petty crime, the petty theft. How big of a concern is that? First thing I'll talk about is the earthquakes. You notice that the buildings here do stand a little bit sideways, and that's because the ground here is soft and still sinking because it was built on a lake, which we'll touch upon in the history of Mexico City later on in this video. But people are concerned about earthquakes. They did have one a year ago. They get earthquakes nearly every day. They're light tremors. You don't always feel them. The other thing about the water, for the most part, they fixed that problem, but still don't get in the habit of just drinking the tap water. Obvious stuff when it comes to the water. Now with the petty crime, petty theft, walking along the streets. Yesterday was a women's march. It did get a little bit crazy down here, but for the most part, walking along the streets, especially in the tourist area, completely safe. You can do it by yourself. You can do it with friends. You're not gonna have any problems. Just don't be flashy. Don't hold things that are valuable out in the open, just flamboyantly. So just kind of take care like that, and you should be completely fine. If you go on tours, make sure you book the tours with a legitimate organization, and you'll be good with that. Typically right through your hotel is perfectly good.
Yeah, so when it comes to transportation, the hardest thing you're gonna do is drive on congested streets in the middle of the weekday in rush hour, and it can get really congested. It is a very densely populated city with kind of modern highways, if you consider 1970 modern highways. So the highway system is there, but it's dated. And they do have buses, they do have trains, so you can take the metro system around Mexico City. There are options, but for the most part, transportation is a bit of a challenge. So I like staying in the central area and then just walking around, maybe taking an Uber here or there. But it is going to be a little bit of a headache, the transportation in Mexico City, especially in the center of the city.
Contrary to what people believe, Mexico City is actually a pretty clean city. I mean, considering that it's a 25 million plus city, that's a lot of people. It's actually the largest city in North America. If you compare it to the likes of Los Angeles, New York City, Chicago, as you can see, there's street sweepers out here constantly cleaning. So Mexico, they do their best to keep Mexico City clean, especially in the city centers. There's a little bit of pollution when you fly in. You will see a layer of pollution, but like I said, I mean, it's the biggest city in North America. So I would say don't be too worried about a dirty city, because they do pretty good on sanitation and hygiene. So I know I just touched on sanitation, but one thing I will say is a little bit of a challenge out here is there's not a lot of baños, not a lot of bathrooms. And so the bathrooms around town, they cost money. So some of the people who don't have a home or they sleep outside, where do you think they're going to the bathroom? So you do have a little bit of a problem with that, although the street sweepers end up having to clean up that steaming pile of you-know-what. So when it comes to weather in Mexico City, the best time to really visit is probably going to be between March and May. It does get crowded during those months, but that's when the weather is best. The coldest month in Mexico City is January. The rainy season is May through about July. So they don't get much rain in the winter and spring months. They get it in the late spring and the summertime. Overall, I would say it's not a tropical climate because it's at 7,000 feet elevation. They do have palm trees, but it's a really pleasant climate. I could see why people would want to live here. Seems like every day right now here in March, we're stuck in the 70s, a little bit brisk at night, and it warms up by about 3 o'clock. It reaches its peak heat, but really beautiful weather here, especially in March. It's really interesting when it comes to the flora and fauna. As you can see, this is a cactus. You'll see other flowers like the purple trees. They're called jacarandas. They line the city center, and they're beautiful, tall, purple flower trees. You've seen Hong Kong hibiscus kind of flowers, lots of roses. So you get this wide variety of plants up here. Palm trees, like I said earlier. It's really kind of nice. right along to talk about the people of Mexico City. So across Mexico, you'll find a different variety of personalities. Some places more friendly than others. Out here, I would notice that people, for a big city, it's friendly, but compared to other places in Mexico, it's not as friendly as, say, the smaller towns. You're gonna have more old Mexico over there, but people are still pretty friendly out here. So overall, that's been my experience. Friendly people. They just don't speak a lot of English, so brush up on your Spanish when you come here. So there's lots of history out here in Mexico City. What I was going to tell you guys earlier was this was actually a lake, Tenochtitlan, also known as Tino. And so in the middle of that island, or in the middle of that lago, the lake, was an island, and that was where the Aztecs had their civilization, Tenochtitlan. It was actually a very beautiful colony or establishment before the Hispanics showed up, the Spanish. So do a little history on Tenochtitlan if you want to learn more about that. But you can see behind me, Diana Cazadores on La Reforma. You have the Plaza de Independencia, which is where the angel is. And then you have Chapultepec. So this area right here is rich in a more modern history. Much older is the Aztec Tenochtitlan, but when you come here, tons of history, tons of art museums, tons of museums of natural history. Hope you guys enjoy all that when you come out here. So Mexico City is known for its street food. There's tons of street food. I just got basically a quesadilla chorizo. Actually, this is chicharron quesadilla. Lots of food all across here. Even if you don't want Mexican food, I've seen Chinese, Japanese food, all sorts of different cuisine, Aztec cuisine, pre-Hispanica cuisine. Overall, I would say that it's going to take a little bit of getting used to if you've never really traveled out of the States, getting the food, because some people do get their stomachs upset from the food they'll eat down here. So tread lightly, but definitely try some cuisine. So there's a few places around Mexico City that you want to stay when you come out here. Roma is a community. That's where we're at now. But the city center, Centro, right next to the Zocalo, is pretty good. I thought the area along the Reforma, that whole downtown area is where the Regis is. They got a Sheraton, a Marriott. So a lot of chain hotels up and down Reforma. Even the area of Chapultepec, you can go out to Culiacan. So there's 5 areas right there that you can really start with trying to look for hotels or where to stay, Airbnbs, what have you. You may be surprised to hear this, but in Mexico City, a lot of things are closed on Mondays. Typically it's Sundays in most places, right? Well, in Mexico City, museums are closed on Mondays typically. So Mondays, that's not going to be your day that you're going to go to museums. I just want to put that out there. That's a thing to know. Yeah, so we're out here at a cafe in Roma neighborhood, Roma Sur, Roma Norte. I've just got a fresh squeezed orange juice and a water here, so pretty good, just relaxing. Here's a big thing, having pesos on you. Bathrooms are not free. You need to pay the 5 pesos every time you use them. But not just for that, you're gonna have people coming up to you doing certain things, asking for certain things. Having pesos, the little coins in particular, are really good. But pretty much whenever you're eating street food or any of these street vendors, they're all gonna take cash. So you're gonna wanna have paper dollars, pesos on you. You can use your credit card in some areas, especially at more of the chain restaurants or hotels like Hilton or whatnot, but for the most part, you're definitely going to be wanting to carry a lot of coins, pesos. I would say anywhere between 5 to 10,000 pesos per day, depending on what you're doing. Yeah, so when it comes to actually immigration paperwork and documents, you're obviously going to have a passport. You don't need a visa if you're coming from the States. Some other countries may require a visa, but if you're coming from the United States, you don't need a visa. You just need a passport, and that passport is going to allow you 180 days in Mexico. And you're going to need that to check into the hotels here in Mexico City, all across the country really, but that's something that a lot of people don't know. And there's also supposedly a tourist tax that if you overstay your time, you have to pay a tourist tax, so you might want to look into that also. All right, guys, so that's the things to know about Mexico City. Let me give you a couple other things just to keep in mind. Get a translator app. Make sure you bring your translator app. Mexico City is a very Catholic city. There's going to be a lot of cathedrals, churches, Catholic stuff that you'll do here. So just be ready for a lot of the Catholic stuff when you're on the tours and whatnot. But really a cool place to visit, pretty safe, lots of food, definitely a foodie city. Such a variety of things to see, and really a ton of history. I mean, these buildings are very old. Take a look at the history. Don't ignore the museums. Try to do some of those when you're here. Hopefully they're open when you come. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Watch some more of these other videos if you get a chance.